Hello, folks, and welcome back to Nako, the Call of Africa. It's time, folks. Nako. I'll be joined in just a few moments by my co-host, Dumo Denga. Koketso got called to a meeting last minute. He was planning on coming. It was a 50-50 whether he's going to make it tonight. But it will be Dumo and I in just a few moments. He'll be joining us. I just talked to him over the phone, and he'll be joining us in just a few moments. We'll talk about issues in South Africa and maybe even further afield in the U.S., that sort of thing. Of course, Dumo is well known for his libertarian views, and I'm known for my conservative views, which always makes for an interesting conversation right here on Nako. We do appreciate your patronage. Thanks for being here. Be sure to hit the like button. I see 13 of you done it already. And Dumo will be popping in momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. I think we caught him a little bit off guard. He's had a long day, but it's very kind of him to join us. And here he comes up now, waiting for that connection. There it is. Here it comes. There he is. There he is. All right, the devilishly handsome Dumo Dengo makes an appearance here in the program. I can see him. I don't know if he can hear me. I can't hear him. I think he's having... Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Okay, he's going to fix it. Okay. Oh, there it is. It came for a second, then it went. Can't hear you. Oh, there you go. There it is. Oh, there's that distinctive voice, man. I tell you what, if I was a chick, I'd be dialing your digits all the time. You're very welcome, man. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Are you serious? Oh my goodness. No way. I feel so bad. We haven't done it for a few weeks because people are just so busy. Of course, Nzuzo, he's always busy suing somebody. I don't know. He's a lawyer. And Nolu's had a lot going in her life. And the Koketso has been off, screwing off in Egypt and Cyprus or somewhere like that on vacation. But now he's got the excuse tonight that he had a meeting short notice. But that's fair. But you're always reliable. And you said right away when I said, hey, can we do Nako this week? Like, yeah, I'll do it. You didn't mention it was your birthday, man. Have you reached that age where you start to forget it's your birthday?
Always jump on this show. Always.
All right. I had the mic off because, so apologies to the audience. I just realized that you can't hear Dumo. We got it sorted. That's my fault entirely, ladies and gentlemen. But he didn't say anything important until just then. He said, no, it's, because I didn't know when you're coming on. And when you come on, I don't want you to be embarrassed. My guest might start talking because you're on air. So I had turned the audio off and then I forgot about it. So anyway, but it's back on now. That's not on Dumo. That's entirely it's Dumo's birthday, folks. You probably picked it up. And he was saying that when I called, because I called him just to make sure he was coming. I didn't want to clickbait anybody and say, hey, dude, we're going to have Nako, but it's only the white guy, Can't have that. We can't have that. What's the white dude doing saying Nako? Of course, Dumo doesn't speak Swana, but that's another story. But anyway, but seriously, so it's your birthday. Happy birthday, man.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm 33 today.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, man, it's been, so far my life has been good. It's just been very busy the past 2 weeks. And even busy today. That is why I came on a bit late, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's
still in the birthday
quite
mood.
Okay. It's all right. People have forgotten about you being tardy, and they're remembering that the producer screwed up the sound. I'm the producer, so they want to fire the producer. But we've got a cake on the screen for you. If you pop on afterwards and take a look, you'll see that's covering up my face right now. It says happy birthday. So happy birthday to Dumo Denga. Man, that's awesome. Do you do anything special for your birthday? I mean, for me, it's just another day because it's Christmas Day. I don't get too excited about my birthdays.
Yeah, I think I'll do something this weekend. But yeah, nothing today. It's just like a normal work day and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just that, yeah.
Well, there you have it. So just a normal work day. But hey, welcome to the folks who are here. Of course, for those of you who don't know, but I think everybody knows here, those who don't know, Dumo is one of the voices of Man Patria, a fascinating vlog and podcast, however you want to look at that, audio or video. But a really interesting discussion. He and Koketso do that. It's a pretty cool program. If you haven't checked it out, the links to Man Patria are below this video, so please check it out sometime. So what have you been up to? I mean, it's a lot's been happening, and surprise, there's always a lot happening in South Africa. Africa in the United
Yes.
States. But what are you up to? Anything you're focusing on right now? I mean, I'm not talking about work necessarily, but anything topics you're researching or concerns you have? I mean, look, before you answer that, I just want you to know that it's not Cyril's fault. It's not his fault. It was COVID. It was state capture. It was Shaggy. It wasn't me. It wasn't Cyril. But anyway, go ahead. You get the floor.
Yeah, man. Look, I think the in the politics field, there's again, there's always a lot happening. But I think, Chris, you won't believe this.
Power just went out.
Look, the power just went out.
It just went to load shedding.
Fortunately, I've got a UPS. Right, so I don't know if you guys can still hear me, but I've got a UPS and it's on right now. It's keeping my camera on, like, and stuff, but the light's gonna come on shortly. But anyway, so it just shows I've been adapting.
But okay, so you have a backup power, you have an ups, but is that what you're going to run off of, or do you have an inverter to draw power off? Because I mean, if it's off for hours, you're going to die in 15 minutes.
Yes, that's correct. However, the UPS is just a transitionary power thing.
Okay.
Now, so it's an uninterrupted power supply. So now the generator's on. Right?
You're one of those rich white people. You got generators.
I plan ahead, Chris.
I love it. But it's kind of funny. Like, I was covering Curry Cup last year. It was in Nelspruit. And all of a sudden the lights went out. They're right in the middle of a play. It's like, it happened like 3 times last year. So the same thing here. There's always something happening in politics. Damn, the lights went out.
So this is really the elephant in the room. I mean, I think last week people were praising ESCOM, saying, "Oh, ESCOM."
I wasn't.
I'm so glad you did it, because I actually put up a meme on my Twitter, just really showing the foolishness of this, celebrating too soon, That's what really got me. I mean, last week they were saying, "Oh, ESCOM, this is great, stage 3, and it's winter, fantastic." And then guess what? Monday hits, it snows, right? It's like the first time it snowed here since I think 2011.
2012.
Yeah, 2012. Yes, yeah. 2012. But it wasn't heavy snowfall, right? The last time there was a heavy snowfall in Johannesburg specifically was in 2007. I remember it was in June. It was, Chris, that is like one of the best days ever. I remember we took photos. There wasn't enough snow to build a snowman. You
must have been at Matric then.
No, yeah, I was in grade 11. Yeah, okay. I was in grade 11. Okay. Yeah. So what is interesting, my sister, she went to a gymnastics tournament in KZN, and she said there was no snow at all, right? And then, and I was like, that's really interesting. It doesn't snow in KZN, but they get all these other crazy weather things. Like they get floods. I mean, they get tornadoes, everything. So, yeah, man, I think, so the snow hits. So what happens? We go into stage 6. And I mean, that's all it takes. That's all it takes right
Upset
now.
The apple cart, a slight uptick in consumption and knocks him completely off. I saw the other day the electric slide minister, him, you can do it. It's electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie. Anyway, the electric slide minister the other day, he's like, when I took over, we were at 48% of capacity. Now we're at 60%. I'm like, oh, you want a cookie? How about 95%, Rocco? You're going to celebrate at 60%. I mean, one of the reasons you can get by at 60% consumption is because 20% of the country is now getting its own power from solar panels or generators. Right. That's why. Right. If everybody was on the grid, the whole thing would just collapse entirely. You can't take credit because people have had to spend their own resources to provide their own electricity because you can't do it. No, it's really sad. It's but look, it does snow in KZN. Of course, in the Drakensberg it snows. But I can tell you that in 2000, when I left Durban in my shorts, of course it was wintertime, but I'm still in my shorts. When I left Durban in my shorts and I topped off at the petrol station, I didn't get out of the car until I got to Joburg. And when I got past Howick, going up that way towards Moy River and towards the toll station up there, the snow started falling.
Right.
And by the time I got through Van Reenen Pass, the people behind me didn't know what to do, and they're just pulling off on the side of the road. I'm like, this ain't nothing but a thing, man. I'm driving. I'm in my shorts. I drove up through the Veldt. I got to Joburg to Sandton. I think it was a Holiday Inn Express, if I remember correctly, something like that. But maybe it's just a Holiday Inn. I don't know if you had Holiday Express, but it was definitely the Holiday Inn chain, I think. I pulled in. I got out. There's about this much snow on the parking lot. I walked inside my shorts, and the guy at the desk looked at me like, sir, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. Why? Aren't you cold? I'm like, well, last time I got in the car was Durban, man. It was nice.
Yeah, man. You know what? Like, snow to me is, I won't lie, it's such a rare occurrence.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that day we actually, you know, the whole family, we actually took photos of the snow, and it was quite memorable. We still have it. So, I mean, when I have kids, I'll say, hey, look, this is the first time I experienced snow. It was quite heavy snowfall. I mean, I think the snowfall was so heavy that day. It was snowing in the evening, right? Oh, well, not in the evening, I'm lying. Early morning, we were sleeping, and then we woke up, there was just so much snow. It was just like, you know, day and night, basically, the difference, right? Yeah. So, yeah, it was really cool. And then, oh, yeah, before that, and then there was the rugby. You know, how could I forget about that, right? I watched the rugby last week, and was quite impressed to see the result. What they did to who's Australia coach again? I forgot his name.
Eddie Jones. He's from New Zealand. Yep.
Yeah, he's from New Zealand, and I think for me they kind of disrespected him. The reporters, right?
Oh, it was a rude question.
It was a rude question. Given the fact that he actually helped us win a World Cup in 2007,
exactly,
that was probably like our best team ever.
It was.
I'll never forget that. In fact, yeah, there's no team is better than 2007. That was like, I think that was like Jake White's under-21 team at their peak.
Franz Sten was on there. You know, Victor Matfield. Yep. Brian Habana. Yep.
Okay, Pierce wasn't there. He should have been there, but I think he had a
injury.
He had some. Yeah. I think he had like blood clots in his lung and stuff. Oh yeah, and Jean de Villiers was injured as well. For that World Cup. But still, I mean, we had Jacques Fourie and Francois Steyn, who's now retired.
That sucks. By the way, I was holding out hope he would make it for the World Cup, third World Cup. It would have been awesome.
It would have been, but I think, look, I mean, with all due respect to him, he has long served the country with regards to rugby. Yeah. I mean, I remember when he was still like, I think he was still a teenager when he debuted, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he was 19 in the World Cup in 2007. Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. You know, I mean, he's done a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so, you know, rugby season is back, which is great. I like watching international rugby. I actually don't watch, like, you know, the Curry Cup and stuff. I actually don't watch that. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I never enjoyed it. I only watch international rugby because that's where you actually see, you know, the best of the best. Not to say that it doesn't happen in club rugby, but I just prefer international. It's just better for me.
Well, I tell you, you know, I think that look, I'm not making any bold predictions because anything can happen in rugby, but you know, there's been a lot of people commenting, of course, as usual, about the selection and such. But, you know, people were angry with Eddie Jones calling it a half-baked side. Well, that was just trash talk that was meant to get his players fired up. So I don't take a lot of umbrage with that. My feelings weren't hurt, but I had made fun of it, but my feelings weren't really hurt. But the thing is that if it was a half-baked side, I mean, look at Marco van Staden was a Superman. He was my man of the match. Andre Esterhuizen, Dwayne Vermeulen, whom was one of my favorite players for a long time, but I've been arguing for a while. It looks like he's past it. He wasn't past it on that day. He was a beast. I thought that Pieter-Steph du Toit didn't have a particularly good game, but they were raving about his performance. If that was our B side, oh my gosh, the world should be trembling. The world should be trembling. My goodness. I mean, listen, this is off the bench for the game Saturday. You ready? Malcolm Marks, one of the best hookers in the world. Wow. Okay. Thomas du Toit, the train. Vincent Koch. That's the replacement front line. That's a starting front line for even the All Blacks would start those three guys. RJ Snyman. Pieter-Steph du Toit off the bench, Dwayne Vermeulen off the bench, Grant Williams, who's a heck of an impressive young scrum half, and Monty Libbek, who admittedly can be cold at times, but by and large is a fantastic player. That's the people starting on the bench. All of those players could start for any international side in the world right now. Except a couple of them couldn't start for the All Blacks, but the rest could start for anybody.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the world ought to be going, oh, damn, we better hope we catch the Springboks on an off day.
Yeah, they better. Look, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but it's looking good. It's looking good. Yeah, I would, but I think New Zealand away is going to be it's always the biggest test. And also, Australia away is also going to be a big one as well. Because, I mean, I think that's where you actually start to see, the Springboks have to dig into their heels to get a result out of that game.
Do you mean you talking about the Rugby Championship? Or
Rugby Championship, yeah.
No, they won't play Australia away. They're done. There's only There's only three games because of the World Cup season. Yeah, it's 3 cup. Yeah. So there's only 3 games. That's why the Bucks have to win Saturday, and then they'll win the Rugby Championship. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So they play. Each team plays each team once, and the Springboks go on the road one time. Argentina goes on the road twice. So
okay.
Yeah, so they won that game, and because they won a point differential, so it was almost a repeat because I covered both games on Rugby Ascent. I did the play-by-play and color commentary. The Pumas didn't even show up. They were just an embarrassment that day. But they lost 41-12, and the Wallabies lost 43-12. So technically, on point differential, the Springboks are in first place right now. But they have to win this weekend. But if they come to a draw, they would still be in first place because of that point differential. So what happens is that they need to win this weekend, and then they'll probably secure it. They have to beat the Pumas, but they'll do that. So they move on to the other test matches, but the Springboks have one more home game. That's it, and they won't have any home games the rest of this year because they go on the road. They play Twickenham against the All Blacks. Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yep. And that's a warm up for the World Cup. It's not part of the Rugby.
Oh, for the World Cup. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's not part. It's not part of the Rugby Championship. It's just an international test. At least that's the way it's been described. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but. Let me ask you this. Did you like the style of play? I love the style of play we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, I also liked it. I mean, they tried a lot of things, right? There's a lot of cross kicking. The mauls were good as well.
The lineouts were shaky.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and I won't blame Bonambi for that. I think it was just mistiming.
It was
from the jumpers.
Poor execution by the guys on the pit. It wasn't Bonga Bonambi. Usually when it's bad lineouts, we're like, oh, Joseph Dwayne can't throw it straight. But that wasn't what was going on.
So yeah, they attempted a different things. It wasn't just it wasn't predictable play, and I think that's what really got Australia confused, and that's why South Africa was able to run so many tries. And I think there were 2 penalty tries in that game.
There were 2 penalty tries.
So it just shows there were...
Well, in fact, one of them, if it hadn't been for the intentional knockdown, Kurtley Arendse would have had 4 tries.
Look at that.
Because it was going to be right in his arms, and he was right there. So, yeah.
Right. And I think when you concede a penalty try, as just someone watching that, I think that the team conceding such a try, it shows that they run out of ideas. In my opinion, defensively they have nothing because now you have to foul someone to actually stop it, and then it's a penalty try.
Yeah, you have to cheat to stop them from scoring.
Exactly. And also the ref was also good as well. The ref wasn't.
He was pretty good. I think in the first half there were some things that were missed, but anyway, that's fine. But I think there were more things missed in the All Blacks game. The All Blacks got away with all kinds of crap in the first 20 minutes of that game. They were offsides repeatedly. They were But I will say this: somebody needs to take a look at Corn Betty. That guy is dangerous. I mean, every time he went to tackle. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank right now. Our winger there, not Cheslin, but the other side.
The new guy,
Kane and Moody. Every time he went to tackle Kane and Moody, he went for his head. I mean, he dove into him. That should have been a card right there. I mean, he could cause serious injury. When Kane and Moody caught the high ball and he landed, he came right into his throat with his elbow like this. No penalty, no card. I mean, it's unbelievable. That guy's dangerous. He's a dirty player. It's kind of like the English side. They're always doing dirty stuff like that. So anyway, Now there's before we get off the rugby, but I did want to get this something real quick. Who said this over here? Was it Francorp? I think said it. Let me see if I can find it. He said, "Can you invite Pinnell, the Black Pen, to your panel?" Okay. Let me give you a little background. Okay. I'm familiar with him. Are you familiar with his work?
Yeah. I'm familiar with his work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ernst van Sale was on his program, and it was a brilliant conversation. Ernst was very balanced, and Pinot was very, very, he was very balanced with him. It wasn't a gotcha sort of thing. It was fantastic. And I love the comments from viewers, black and white South Africans responding, going, wow, this was very compelling. It was interesting to hear what this guy had to say. And I really liked that. That was awesome. So, I thought, well, that'd be awesome to go and talk to that guy sometime. So one of my viewers said, why don't you go on? I'm like, I don't know the guy. So they said, yeah, but you can get Ernst to, give you. So I wrote to Ernst. I said, can you put me in contact with him? And he said, sure. So he gave me his contact information. I said, I'll cold call him. I'm happy to do that. But I'd appreciate, if you don't mind, if you could do an introduction for me, because you know me, right? So if you don't mind, you can vouch for me. I'm not some wackadoodle here, It's not some craziness or some racist or some idiot like that. So he wrote to him, and Pinot, busy guy, didn't hear from him for a day. But then I got a message. He goes, boy, Ernst is very impressed with you, and I would be an honor to have you on my program. So I'll be on his program probably when I'm in South Africa in a few weeks. And as far as coming on here, I think what we should do is, let's see how that goes. If it's a good appearance, if he's comfortable with me, then if you're okay with, and the other members of the panel are, then maybe we'll invite him on to come on here periodically if he wants to be part of it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. If he wants to come on, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Okay, cool.
Would like to hear what he thinks about certain issues. He's got a big following.
Yeah, he does.
So I don't think he's not someone that should be ignored. Let me put it that way.
Exactly. Okay. So, but I suspect we have different views on some things, and that's actually healthy.
Yeah.
I don't mind that, as long as people are adults. We can have different views. We can have conversations. But the thing is, some people are probably like, yeah, go on his program. Your channel will grow. My channel's not going to grow, guys. First off, the interview with Ernst has like 140,000 views on it now. But Ernst's subscriber base hasn't really grown as a consequence of that. So if Ernst, the South African, in which 160,000, 140,000 people watch this, only gets a few dozen or a couple hundred more subscribers, I'm definitely not going to grow. I'm not going on there to grow my subscriber base. If I do, I'll be happy. But that's not why I'm going on. I'm going on there to have a candid conversation about, topics related to South Africa. And I think it should be interesting. And also to open people's eyes, which I think is why Ernst went on his program. Because people like Ernst are always depicted illegitimately by the media. And so it's important for people to go out there and have conversations and refute the narrative, which, Ernst is a good human being. He's a good guy. There's not an evil bone in his body that I'm aware of. I've known him for some time now. But anyway, he's like you. He's salt of the earth, good South African. The fact that, he's disadvantaged because, fate denied him sufficient pigmentation isn't his fault.
Exactly. Look, I can also vouch for Ernst as well. I think he's the perfect person to talk about the issues that he spoke about on Penwell's show. I remember like I would watch his first interviews that he used to do on SABC and how they would just give him a hard time. And then I remember during the lockdown, he had a tough interview. I forgot which channel it was, but he handled it very well. He was very forceful in that interview. He didn't let them, get off the hook, and he said what he had to say. And I was like, okay, this is good. He's coming to the party. And then ever since then, he's just been brilliant.
Oh, he's really been stepping up. You can see he's become much more polished, much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And he's maturing, and he's doing a good job for South Africans. That's what I'd say, and that's really awesome. So it's great to see that his documentary was fantastic. The one that they did talking about Selbstbestimmung, that was really good stuff. I was there at the premiere at the AfrForum Theater, in Pretoria. It was brilliant.
You've been there? Have you been there?
Yeah, I went there
very
for
nice
the premiere.
building, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's
brilliant.
a decent neighborhood. I went there to see the premiere. I was invited. Dean Chancey, the singing Texan who sings songs about Boer history, he was invited. So we were the two Americans. We're the oddballs in the crowd. And then, I sat down at a table, not with Dean, but I sat down and I was joined by David Ansara from the Free Market Foundation and Mark Oppenheimer. So we were the odd guy. We were the Anglos sitting at the table with all these Afrikaners. So so it was we had to team up so we could understand what's going on and talk to each other.
I remember when I went there. Okay, no, actually, before I actually talk about my experience, right? They're gonna always ask the grand question: were they black people there
at that event?
Yeah, I'm
No,
pretty
there
sure
weren't.
they were.
No, that event there were. I don't recall seeing any black folks there. I'm trying to remember if there were a couple colored folks there, but there might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's. But I mean, okay. To be fair, AfrForum was formed as a group focused on Afrikaners as a cultural group.
That's fine.
So I mean that's their basis, but that's not all they do, and we know that they've helped some groups. I think they've helped a Basutu group try to, and they've also helped. I think a Kosa group has approached them recently, and they're working with them to give them advice and such. They don't exclude people. They're not exclusionary, but that's the myth told about. So when he was on I saw a video of him. He was just on SABC, I think it was, something like that. And it was a panel of young South Africans talking about things. And and a couple of people on the panel said something about AfrForum and he said all these political parties. And Aaron said, after he finished, said, excuse me, I have to correct something here. AfrForum is not a political party. You don't vote for us. Don't go to the polls and vote for us in 20 because we won't be on the ballot. We're not a political party. We're a civil rights organization, and that was exactly right. So, but yeah, anyway. So, but I don't think there was any black folks there. But I mean, it's
for me that doesn't matter because
I watched
I watched the documentary from home. I think it was great. Oh, what was that? Oh, my other camera fell. Oh, yeah, my other webcam fell. But it's fine. Now it's secure.
Is that your OnlyFans camera?
It's the backup camera in case the main one breaks.
Yeah, sure. Go stick with that story, Dumo.
Okay. So my experience at AfrForum. So I also went there as well. I was actually taken aback by just how everything is organized. Reminds me a lot of when I worked at SAA, just the structure of the building, like the receptions on the first floor, not on the ground floor, that type of thing. And then, the big leaders are right at the top floor and everything like that. It just reminded me a lot about that. And then, I was taken to the media room. And again, I was just really impressed by what they have there. And, and the movies that they were making like their own movies there. And like, they had these boards, it has like the, starring so-and-so, like how you see it, right? Normally. And I was really taken aback and I was just like, this is really, really impressive. So yeah, guys, I mean, AfrForum, I got to say, I'm really impressed by what they do. And it's not only like what they do in the media and stuff, but when you actually go to their headquarters and see what they have to offer there, it's really a nice experience. So yeah. I enjoyed it, and Adam took me on a tour. It was Adam that took me on the tour as well. So yeah,
I've been there a couple of times, and I'm impressed. But I had not ever been to Solidarity, which is across the street, until my last trip. I went to Solidarity on my last trip and had fantastic interview there, and had a great experience there, learning about the history of Solidarity and what they were up to. So I'll probably visit Solidarity on this trip. I'm not sure if I'll do AfrForum. Because every time I go, Ernst Hertz never has time for me. So
he wasn't there when I was there as well, so it's fine.
He's but I met Kali Kriel. Yeah, Kali usually get hello, shake your hand. Okay, he's got to do something else. But Kali's a good guy. But so anyway, you're right. It's an impressive operation. Their studio is really nice. I've actually done interviews. I interviewed Ernst. I interviewed both Ernst Squared. I interviewed them both in August of last year when I was there in their studio, and then this last time I interviewed Ernst van Zyl. So yeah, they're doing a really great job. And then of course you've got other folks with AfrForum. I've dealt with who's now with it, Renee van der Pfeiffer. Used to be Renee Kruger. She's from down the PE area, but she's involved in the AfrForum Youth, and she does a lot of videos on there. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, I've worked, but people ask me, are you a member of AfrForum? I'm like, no. And they're like, why not? I said, well, because I'm trying to maintain my journalistic independence. I mean, if I become a member of the organization, I mean, then people can accuse me of being biased towards them or in favor of them. And right. They don't need my help to do what they're doing.
Fair. That's actually a good point. Yeah. No, that makes sense for journalistic independence. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, So that's what's going on there. Well, anyway, but so the rugby, we got away from the rugby, but I'm not making any predictions, but I'll tell you, if the half-baked side that played at Loftus plays. Now that wasn't a mistake-free game. There were, especially early in the game, both of the tries that Australia scored never should have been scored. They were horrible defensive breakdowns. Neither one should have been scored at the beginning of the game or the end of the game. But, I mean, by and large, if they play with this style where they mix it up and they look for space and they get their wings who have the speed running, I mean, the only time we run shouldn't be when Brian Habana's on the pitch. We should be trying to run whenever we have the talent. And the Springboks have the talent on the wings. They can make it happen. They should make it happen. So, I mean, this team, I think, should make people going to the World Cup nervous.
Yeah, they should. They should. And if they're gonna, and if they, the thing about rugby, like when I used to play it growing up, right? You'd get coaches that would have a forward game. They would like to play a forward game, and then when you're at the opponent's 22, then you give it to the back line, and they do some funny move, and then they score the try, and then. And then you got some who like to use the back line a bit more and so forth, and some they like to balance it out. But I think with the Springboks, they've tried all the tricks. When I say tricks, I mean, I remember back in the day when Dan Carter was still at his prime, and then he would do these cross kicks, and then guy on the wing would catch it and then score a try. And I was really happy to see a bit of that and a bit of variety. Yes, using the mauls as well, as I mentioned earlier. So I think for me, when teams are looking at them, they're going to be like, well, we can't be worried about their backline because their forwards can maul pretty well, and it's like we can't really worry about their forwards because their backline can also damage us as well. So it's a really tough thing because if you're a coach and you're defending against a team that likes to play with the forwards, it's pretty easy to plan against them, but maybe it's difficult to execute, but at least you know what you're expecting. But when you got a team that's very good in the forward and the back line, man, good luck. That's all I'm going to say. Good luck.
Well, that's kind of where the Springboks are right now. Excuse me. As a super chat came in from Chris Wyatt, and he says, "Happy birthday, my brother from another mother. Thanks for being here tonight." And he's got an emoji of a beer stein and a can we use that? Is that
Thanks,
okay?
Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't do the okay.
That's
sign.
why I said, can we do that? As I was asking, is that even allowed, man? Because apparently, just like mathematics and English and exercise now, exercise is racist.
Exercise.
Oh my God. Let's get into that. But before we go any further, I'll be in Gauteng here shortly. And we'll link up at some point, I'm sure. But I remind me to buy you a beer or something since Chris did a super chat with you being here tonight. That way I can pass on that transaction to you to buy you a beer or a drink or something like that. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, but since we're speaking the racist language of English, let's talk about everything being racist. Go ahead, Dumo. Sport or exercise is racist. Give me a break, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've got a feeling, right, that the person that wrote that article about right wingers and not right wingers. Sorry, they said white supremacists,
white nationalists.
White nationalists are obsessed with fitness. I think for me, I've just got a feeling that they ran out of things to do, to say.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they just said, okay, what's the new trend? Oh, fitness. And they say now fitness is racist or whatever. I just think for me, I think when you're in the business of outrage, I think they wanted to cause outrage. I think they wanted, clicks on their websites as well. Because remember, when you are a media business, you make money off advertisements, right? Yep. And you need to get clicks. You need to get traffic. So you need to think of the most ridiculous stories to get the traffic. So I think the person that wrote that article does not believe any single word. Does not believe the accusation, right? That fitness is like
it's
white
clickbait.
supremacist. Yeah, exactly. It's clickbait. They need the money, guys. The advertising revenue model. Yeah, I think that's the reason why. And look, I won't lie. It's got a lot of traffic. I saw on my timeline, especially on Twitter, on the For You tab. Oh my goodness, that's dead.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
I don't know about you, Chris, but I only look on the following tab now. The following tab.
I'm gonna have to switch up to that because 90% of the stuff that's fed to me For You is leftist. And it's all anti-Trump. I don't even watch these people. I constantly get fed their garbage. I mean, I mean, they just make, and I've got these fawning people like Victor Shi, who's a member of Congress from California, and he's like a picture of Joe Biden on the beach. Like he looks like a beach whale laying there, broiling in the sun. Isn't this, and he's not being sarcastic, he's serious. Look at this. There's a fixture of fitness. This is a real president. America's respected in the world. Joe Biden. I'm like, what's wrong with you, man? And then this guy, John Cooper, he's done the same thing all the time. And they take these pictures, and they take pictures that are designed to, of course, make Joe Biden look like he's fit. He's in his 80s. We don't expect him to be fit. You know, in fact, in Africa, if you don't have a gut when you're 60, you're not successful. You know, you look down as unsuccessful if you haven't got a gut, right? Anyway, but then they take a picture of, and I don't know if it's doctored or if Donald Trump is really blown up to the size, but he looks like a beach walrus walking up and looks all sweaty. I mean, come on, people. Just let go. Just judge people based on what they say and do, not on what the media tells you. It's just crazy. And I'm not. That's not a pro-Trump thing at all. It's not an anti-Trump thing. But I'm just saying. But you're right. On the for you, it's annoying. And it's almost like it's designed to trigger me. That's what it's like they send me these things just to trigger me and get a response out of me. And I wouldn't be surprised if Twitter's targeting me because I've mentioned that I'm probably going to run for office so they could use it against me later on. like the Finnish finance minister who wrote some racist stuff back in 2008. She had to apologize for it this week. 15 years ago, she wrote something that was racist in Finnish and says she's apologizing for it now. Well, I've never written anything that's racist. So, I mean, people can infer whatever they want out of things, but there's never been anything that's racist that I've written. So good luck finding that, folks. Yikes.
Right. I mean, I mean, like what I also do as well, because on Twitter, when you get into spats and everything like that, now and again, I haven't said anything racist and stuff like that, but you'll find that sometimes you will look at something that you said and you're like, you know what, I could have said that better. And then what I always do is, like, from time to time, I'll just do a cleanup of my account, delete tweets that are older than 3 months and everything like that, just to help out, just to make sure that, like, if people try to cancel me, they won't have anything left. But now, I just saw the other day, there's this site called Wayback Machine.
Oh, yeah, the Wayback Machine. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been around since the beginning of the internet. Yeah, but the Wayback Machine is not as effective as people think it is. For instance, I can't find anything from my GeoCities, which was a big part of the internet when I signed up for it in 96 until around 2001 when it was screwed up by the people that bought it. But there's nothing there. You can't find it. You can still find GeoCities, but you can't find my account. It was in the neighborhood called the Tropics because there wasn't one really designed. It was the closest thing I could find to a travel. I made a travel site. And anyway, but yeah, the Wayback Machine is good for some things, but it's not a complete repository of everything on the internet. They couldn't build enough server farms to do that. So, but yeah, it is pretty cool. The Wayback Machine.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw someone actually captured the tweets that I made from like 2019 up until March 2022. Mm-hmm. Like, who did this? Like, I'm not even a famous person. Now they're just capturing them.
When you become a famous person, they've got it.
That's fine, Chris. I mean, I looked at what they captured. There. It's nothing there. There's nothing that they can use really. But yeah, it's interesting. Just interesting. I wanted to just put that out there.
No, I'm with you. But it's like, and you've got like earlier today, I did my broadcast. Somebody sent me an email who was upset that I mentioned that person in a broadcast because they were undermining my program a couple years ago. Someone was asking about it, and I had never mentioned the person by name, but I just mentioned the person by name. And I get an email. I see from the video, and there's no video here, I guess, trying to reference that you were talking about me. And, you're such an insignificant part of my life. And then so I responded and said, well, then why are you wasting time?
Exactly. Why type the email? Like you could have done something else.
Exactly. Could have done something else with time. But then today, I told, and sorry for offending. It's good Koketso's not here because he's a man of faith. He would probably be offended, but I'll say it now. So I said, I started my broadcast and I said, I get emails from people like this, and I said, you know what? At that moment, there's 44 people. The audience grew bigger than that, but there's 44 people here. If 22 of you are from that cult that's trying to undermine my program, you know what? Fuck off. Piss off, Footsec, get out of here.
Right.
If I have 20 viewers and you clowns aren't here undermining it, I'm fine with that. No one asked you to come waste your time and watch my programs.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know. It's like, it's contradictory. We don't care about you, but I'm gonna go into your show and I'm going to, spam your comment section and spam your email and stuff like that.
Yeah, and falsely report your videos and yada, 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 and all the other stuff. Yeah. It's Ronaldo used to say it all the time about living rent-free in somebody's head. There's somebody who right now, apparently I'm living rent-free, but I would like a bigger house for that rent-free price, Just saying. Yeah, anyway. So, but everything's racist, man. Everything's racist. It's the word is so cheapened. I mean, it still has value in South Africa when you call it because people still cringe. But in America, calling somebody a racist, most people like, it doesn't have any meaning anymore. It's like the boy who cried wolf one time too many. Wolf, 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 wolf. Okay, we're not coming out again to rescue you. Right. No, everything is racist. It's just ridiculous at some point.
Yeah, it's losing its it's losing its effectiveness, and I think, that can actually
be counterproductive.
Be a bad thing.
Yeah, it's counterproductive. Yeah, because when there is real racism, which exists, then people aren't going to respond.
Here we go. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm really afraid of.
It's a valid fear.
When real racism comes along, and it results in people getting killed
or harmed or disadvantaged. Yep.
Then what do we do then? And I've got a feeling that it's almost like it's moving past its sell-by date. And I think that what people should, I think really, I'm probably saying this to the converted because I'm looking at the chat. These are the converted. But I mean, for those of you who are not part of the converted, I mean, just like when you hear accusations of racism, take them seriously. But at the same time, when it comes to the news, they just like to use that word because they know that's what gets them clicks. I mean, it's when I was, for the Men Patriot podcast, I mean, we covered a lot of issues where racism was the topic. And again, the approach was always, look, let us wait for the facts and let's see if it was racist, if that alleged incident. Like, for example, let's look at Ashton Willemse. And the Supersport incident back in the day, right?
Did you guys talk about that on your program a lot?
No, that was, we didn't speak about that one specifically. That was way before. I think that was 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was before I got on here doing it. Yeah, no, it's 2018 timeframe, yep.
Right, and I remember, but I was on Twitter that time, right? And then, everybody on Twitter were like, Nick Mallets and Nas Boot are racist and whatever. No evidence whatsoever.
Just because they're white, they claim that, yep.
Right, and that's wrong, right? Why don't you wait for the evidence? Exactly. Why don't you wait for the evidence and let's see? And you know what is funny? What is really interesting about that investigation? When MultiChoice finished that investigation, right? They actually invited Ashton Willemse to be part of it, and it looked like he didn't rock up, right? Then this was also taken to the Human Rights Commission, and then recently the Human Rights Commission stated that I think they couldn't complete the investigation. I don't know what the outcome was. But again, Ashton Willemse did not rock up. He did not participate. So they couldn't get an outcome. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, you see, this is the problem. It's like, why didn't you go? I mean, the guys that were accused of being racist, they were willing to participate. They cooperated. They said what was need to be said, but he did nothing. And I'm just like, that's not right. You don't do something like that. Yeah. I think if you really are sure that someone has said something about you and you think it's racist and and your company policy says they don't tolerate racism, participate in the investigation. It could be that you were wrong. And if you're wrong, you could say, okay, I was wrong. I'm sorry. But I mean, I don't think people are prepared to do that. And maybe that was the reason why he did not participate, because maybe he thought that, hey, what if I'm wrong and I don't want to look like I have egg on my face? But for me, I just feel, just go through with it, man. Because at least then, even if you are proven wrong, at least it shows that you got integrity because you participated in the investigation. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying Ashton Willemse is a bad guy, but, he could have done better there. Participate in the investigation, get the information, and then you move on from there.
My take on the Ashton Willemse thing is it was really unfortunate to make such an unfounded claim without any evidence, because at the time the word had a lot of currency, and calling out former coach and a former, legendary player for that on something that happened off camera, and there's no one corroborating it. It's a bit concerning. But here's my take on what's going on with Ashton Willemse. First off, he earned his spot when he played as a Springbok.
Yeah,
he earned his spot. We agreed on that. Okay. So let's be clear about that before somebody starts inferring incorrectly in the chat. So no strike against Ashton Willemse as a player, and nothing against him as a commentator. I found him interesting, not great, but interesting. But this is what I think happened, and I could be wrong, but this is my, there's no evidence for this, but it seems to me that when he was a player, he probably heard comments from people, oh, you're just a quota player. He probably heard that, and it gave him, he was angry about it. He should be angry about it because he earned his spot. But that carried throughout his career. And then when he got into broadcasting, and any time that he felt like he wasn't being taken seriously, or people didn't agree with him, or they disagree with him, that may be built up. And that day, something was going on in his mind, and he felt like they were ganging up on him, like people used to do when they claimed that he was a quota pick, and he just went off. And I remember Nick Mallon and Nas both is just like, they're like stunned that he did this, even though. So I think that's what did it, and it's a shame because now. We haven't seen Ash in 5 years. He's just gone.
Yeah. And look, and I mean, I would just want to echo your sentiments on him being a great player. Fantastic. I mean, I remember watching him in the 2003 World Cup. Pacey winger. Brilliant. I mean, even now, I mean, he still keeps fit, which is great. I just feel that, I think your story has substance to it. I think that at some point in his career, people did undermine him because they said, oh, you're a quota player. Yep. And then it goes back to what I think what Koketso said about affirmative action, how it undermines the achievements of people that it's trying to help, that now it makes it sound like as if that they needed that assistance. And I think Ashton, without affirmative action, without the quota system, Ashton Willemse would have made the Springboks hands down. He was that good. And it's unfortunate that he had to go through that. And it's really unfortunate that he had to go off on air the way he did. Yeah. But again, I'm not saying he can't feel angry about it. Like, I'm not saying he can't have, let me not say resentment. I'm not saying, no, he can't be righteously angry.
He can't have righteous indignation.
Indignation. That's it. There's nothing wrong with with reflecting and looking back and saying, you know what? When that guy called me a quota player, you know what? That was disrespectful. Nothing wrong with looking back and saying that was wrong. But again, just to go off on air like that, it's really unfortunate because I think he had a lot to offer in punditry as well.
I agree. And again, I mean, I enjoyed watching him on SuperSport. I mean, he wasn't my favorite commentator, but I did enjoy it. Owen Nkumane was one of my favorite. That guy's voice, just love listening to him on he's great. And then a friend of mine, of course, a lot of people take issue with him because of his accent, but I think Joel Stransky's a pretty good commenter too. Not everybody agrees, but Joel's a friend, so maybe I'm biased. But now Paulie lays out what actually happened that day from a factual standpoint. He says he refused to prep his analysis and he wasn't professional. And then when he got called out, or he got caught for not having done the work, he dropped the race card. That's, if I recall correctly, that he said something that didn't make sense and they called him out on it. And so then he went off on them. Yeah, that's what it was. And thank you, Paulie. Yeah. I mean, because you have a different opinion, you have different analysis, you shouldn't be calling people names like that. I mean, so for instance, I have a viewer who was a very devout viewer on my program. And when I started covering the Lady R story about Simonstown and the so-called, shipment of stuff that did or didn't happen, when I covered that, this viewer who always communicates with me by email started sending me emails and going, I disagree with you. And then I wrote back, I said, well, okay, that's fine, but I'm just reporting this. And he said, well, the American ambassador's wrong. He's destroying Southern. And I'm like, this seems like, and then finally I wrote back after it kept escalating and started, basically almost calling me names. And I wrote back and said, is somebody hijacked my friend's account? Because I don't recognize any of this stuff. I mean, difference of opinion is a difference of opinion. I never said that Brigitte was right or wrong. I said that he's certainly entitled to say what he said, and then I gave the story as it unfolded. The fact the Americans had talked to the ANC behind the scenes diplomatically for months, and they got fobbed off, and they had enough of it. Now, whether we should be supporting the position that Ukraine or Russia is right isn't germane to the issue. The issue is that diplomatically, the ANC ignored the United States. And of course, when the United States unveils, he has no evidence. Okay, so we must produce the names of the spies on the ground who took the photographs or the satellite trillion-dollar systems we developed. We must disclose it to you so it no longer is effective or the spy gets assassinated. We see what happens with whistleblowers in South Africa, Babito Deo Karan. Come on. So all these people, it's just ludicrous. Well, you haven't proven anything. The Americans don't have to prove anything. All the ANC had to do was come out and say, we saw the American ambassador's press conference. It's unfortunate he chose to have a press conference. We've been talking about this subject to the American government since it was first alleged in December. There's nothing to it. Here are the manifests. We'll provide them to you for the ship. It was a Russian ship. They brought in supplies that we buy for them because we have secured weapons on the battlefield over the years in conflict, and we use them to train our special forces, and only they provide the ammunition. So that's what we purchased. That's what happened here. As far as loading the ship up, we put victuals and, and biltong and water on the ship, and here's the manifest for it. There was no weapons transferred. There's nothing to see here. Transparency is all they need to do, but no, it never happened. Nothing was transferred. Then we see the photographs of containers going on and off the ship and videos of stuff going on off in the dark of night. Come on, man. It's so, and then blaming Brigitte for it and blaming the Americans. The Americans don't have to prove anything. You don't have to believe the Americans, but the public now in South Africa wants an answer from the South African government, and they owe it to South Africans. If it's not true, then say. But we do know what was loaded on the ship, Dumo. We do know. We know this from one of the members of parliament. It was fuck all, man. Fuck all was loaded on that ship.
You gotta love South Africa. Gotta love South Africa.
Gotta love South Africa.
Yeah, man. It's. I mean, that issue was one that really. It caught my interest because I wasn't following. I was intentionally not following politics at that time, and then that issue came up. Yeah, and then they mentioned what was on the actual container or on that ship, right? And that really got me. But yeah, man, I just think it's just one of those, man. I just think that we always find a way to just make issues more epic than they are. Like, for example, they just could have said, "No, there was nothing on the ship," and we ended there. No, there was fuck all on that.
Well, it's like right now with the 21 trucks that have been torched, people jumping out of the grass, 21 trucks in KZN and Mpumalanga and Limpopo. And Mbeka Tsile comes out. I didn't hear any question from the press. Maybe they asked and it wasn't reported, but I didn't hear anybody saying, is this related to the 2021 insurrection? Nobody's talking about that. And then he says, well, we were on the trail of 12 suspects, but it has nothing to do with the 20. Well, wait a second. I wasn't even thinking about that. So where does that come from? Is that a distraction or is it actually tied to it and you're denying it? And oh, by the way, we have got 12 suspects for these vehicles being torched in just a matter of a couple days, and nobody knows who tortured and murdered Brendan Horder 3 years ago, or Edward Normeister, or so many other people. What's going on here? And oh, by the way, where are the usual suspects? I know the DJ is just had his court appearance for the 2021 insurrection, but where are the other dozen people who are the usual suspects who are responsible for the insurrection? Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. The truck story is very interesting.
It is. What's the intent other than this
so many
chaos?
Trucks.
They're not stealing. They're not stealing anything. They're just torching the trucks.
Exactly. And now they say they found some suspects and everything. And apparently there was even a video where it showed like one of the suspects actually going into the truck, actually getting caught on camera. But they haven't found this person. But I just want to see how this develops because, that's quite a lot of trucks, man. That's a lot of trucks.
Well, is this a different version of taxi wars? Is this shipping companies targeting their opponents? I don't know. Just a supposition. We don't know.
Okay.
Could that be
possible.
it? Could that be someone taking out a rival? I don't know. Are all the trucks owned by the same company or companies, or was there a contract negotiated? All of this stuff, as an investigator, as a law enforcement official, these are questions I'd start asking, looking for all the ties here. What is our common thread other than, location, time, and such like? And oh, by the way, how is it that this keeps happening unless it's happening in different spots? Can you not put drones out or put surveillance cameras out and catch this stuff and have cops pre-position? This is basic stuff. But anyway, it is SAP, so it's not basic for them anything.
They've bungled quite a few. I mean, the AKA thing is still going on. I don't know how they're going to solve that one. They said they found the weapon, the murder weapon. I remember that, but that was like a few months back. And it looked like that. Well, let me not say anything. Let me not say
just let it go. Just let it go. You don't want to get it. But I do have a question, a serious question for you away from that. Listen, I'll be coming to South Africa soon. I just need to confirm: are you one of the few people who didn't aid Thabo Bester in escaping?
Yeah, even him.
There's escaping. 18 people locked up in this thing now. Crazy.
Yeah, I gotta admit, to pull that off, the whole apparently they used a body from the mortuary and they said that was him, and then the first red flag should have been when they said that no, he set himself alight. And I'm like, look, I don't want to sound skeptical, but okay, when people delete themselves, right? They'll try to find the most efficient method. And let me just say, setting yourself alight is not that. Okay. And again, I'm just saying this now. If you have concerns about self-deletion and everything like that, please seek counseling. Please. I don't want people to think that I'm actually encouraging this behavior, but I'm just saying that, look, if you're an investigator and you hear this story, already alarm bells will be ringing. It's like, no, usually you'll find when people set themselves alight, it's usually done in protest, or sometimes
Buddhist monks, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Or it's done in a situation where someone is burnt against their consent. They actually, like the whole necklacing thing, right? So now someone just sets themselves alight. I'm like, nah, sorry, man. That for me was the first red flag. They should have seen that already. That no, something is not right here. But apparently, it took someone. I don't know. Was it they were at not a convenience store. They were at a supermarket, and they found him, and they're like, hey, isn't this guy like supposed to be in jail or something like that?
But wasn't he in Tanzania already or something like that? Did he get
right? Yeah.
Right. And he was pretending to be an American. Yeah, that's an American accent.
I would like to. Did he actually speak in an American accent?
I have no idea. I'm just saying he had fake American documents or something like that. But I mean, look, there are 18 people now being charged or investigated for aiding his escape. I mean, how big? I mean, what this guy is like? It reminds me of a story in Baltimore. In the Baltimore County Jail, this career criminal, I thought he was a gang member, whatever, he was locked up and he spun such a web that he had like half a dozen of the female guards sleeping with him. And they let him walk around. He knocked up 3 of them, white women, black women, knocked them up. Yeah. So he produced 3 offspring, and these guards, white and black women, getting pregnant by this guy, and he's getting all kinds of privileges, and his jail cell is unlocked. He has the reign of the county jail. It's just and this was a crazy story. He wound up in the state pen. They took him out of there, but it's just crazy. What is there some kind of charismatic aspect to Thabo Bester that 18 people, or are they just greedy and they want a few thousand rand? I don't know, but it's a crazy story when you think about it. I mean, if I was going to weave a conspiracy from my jail cell, I don't know how I get 18 people involved unless I had one really loyal person who was good at recruiting criminals.
Right. I mean, maybe, and again, I know this case is developing, but again, this is a possibility. I'm not saying it's true, but it could be that he's his partner, right? I forgot her name. Yeah. I think that she could have actually assisted in that
that's and when if I saw a picture of her, I think she was attractive. I mean that gets men to do stupid things, so.
Hey, yeah, what? I saw on Twitter someone posted a picture of her, and then someone quote tweeted and said, "Hey, hear me out, guys, hear me out."
Exactly.
Not even
don't shame me till you hear the whole story.
Look, and it could be that, one person put out a theory, a friend of mine said that it could be that she is attracted to men who commit crimes. It could be that. That could have also played a role. Yeah, but again, we're not psychologists.
No, we don't have any evidence.
Haven't done a
Mere supposition. Mere supposition.
No, that's it. So I don't want people coming around saying, "Hey, man, you guys said this and you said that."
We're just
speculating.
We're just speculating. It's pure speculation. There's no facts involved in this case. We're just trying to make sense of it all. Same thing with the Ashwin Willemse thing. We're just trying to make sense of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no. It's just some tabletop analysis, and maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong, but
right.
But it's some crazy stuff, though, man. So I don't know if you saw any of the footage of my dear president made a trip to the United Kingdom before he went on to Vilnius.
Yes.
He met with Chucky, the King of England there. And look, I mean, being overly critical of him, and a lot of Republicans are, but I mean, the dude moves at negative, 0.6 light years per day. My goodness. And he looks like he's got a broomstick up his backside. And it's just, it's tough to see, man. And then when he walked to number 10, I actually narrated that. I did the video. I put myself on a split screen. I narrated. He's walking up and, he tries to do a little hop and skip, but he gets a centimeter off the ground. He nearly falls over. Oh God, so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Anyway, but that's our dear leaders, the exalted ones. So
yeah, it's interesting because I remember that video where he was walking in front of King Charles, and it looked like King Charles was
slow down,
about to run him over. Hurry up now! It looked like that, and then he just looked like, what's going on here? Nah, it's not easy to watch. I just think that, I got another conspiracy theory. Someone else is running the White House. It's not him. It's not Joe Biden.
No. Well, for me, I was
him.
Convinced it was Susan Rice until she left. She's not there anymore, so I don't know who's running it. But it's got a little more chaotic since the end of May when she left. But Casper Labuschagne said there's a woman in the Northern Free State with a SAP's inside contact who claims unidentified corpses from the mortuary as her husband and collects the life insurance. She's pulled it off 9 times.
What the hell?
I haven't heard this story. Is that from the media, or is that something? Do you know inside information, Casper?
I've heard of I've heard of insurance fraud, right? I've also heard of what is this? What's this thing called? In funeral policy fraud as well, where it's something of that nature. Where people claim from funeral covers. Yeah. From people that they're not related to and everything like that, claiming that, this is my husband and whatever, and then they deposit the money into that account, and then they just take off they just take the money and run away with it. Wow, that for me is scary, because what that tells me, there's a lot of people who pass on, who do not get identified by family members, and they're left in the mortuary, and then someone just goes around and says, hey, no one's going to bury this body, so we might as well just, commit some fraud and get some money from it, right? And that is very scary, because that also shows I don't know, man. It just shows moral depravity, man. That's
moral
crazy.
depravity. That's a good way to describe it. Also, it's a bit concerning, because in order to claim a life insurance policy, you'd have to know who it's with. Is it with Discovery? Is it with Sanlam? Who's the insurance policy with, and where's the information so you could make the claim? Which would lead me to believe that these people didn't wind up in the mortuary by accident. Just a thought,
Could be that, yeah, because you're right. Because in order for you to actually claim from the insurance, you need to have an insurable interest.
Okay. Well, you have to have the information. You have to know what the policy is, and maybe someone dies and someone breaks into their residence and finds it after the fact. I don't know, but Carlos, are you still here? Carlos had a question earlier, and I apologize I didn't get to it sooner. Let me get to it right now. All right, so he said, "What's going on with water in Joburg?" All right, well, Monday last week I reported an update to the story that was supposed to occur in June. Rand Water was going to be doing maintenance. So Johannesburg Water was not going to be delivering water to many of the western suburbs of Johannesburg for 44 hours in June. They postponed that maintenance until July. And then they extended it from 44 to 58 hours, and they extended the service delivery area, which covered most of Johannesburg. So on Monday last week, I gave an update on my program and said, hey, fill your fire pool, fill your bathtub, fill all your containers, and get some bottled water. And I told everybody that every day last week. And nobody's watching my program, so nobody did it. So what's happening now? ShopRite, Spars, Pick and Pay, they've been cleaned out of water as people panic as the water's getting shut off today through Friday. So yeah, they're doing maintenance on a couple distribution lines. and they can't deliver water because they need those connection points. It also just shows you how vulnerable infrastructure is, that there's no way to reroute that water somewhere else to still provide delivery. So people are going to be without water for 58 hours. That's crazy. But that's what's going on with Rand Water and with Johannesburg Water right now. It's I don't want to say it's routine maintenance, but it's necessary maintenance on the lines so they can supply water. What's really frightening about this for me is that the Highlands Water Project, which the National Party got kicked off before they left government and then handed off to the ANC, and the ANC finished the last project, and I think it was in 96 when the sluices were open and the water started coming out of Lesotho through the Free State and then up to Gauteng. That was one of four that were supposed to be done. The ANC has never done the other three. If they'd done the other three, Joburg would be a washing water from the Highlands projects. But that water doesn't get there. It gets into the ground, or it goes to the Orange River or wherever, and other sources. It doesn't get to Joburg. They only finished one of the four projects for the Highlands. And it's a very impressive project. I've been there. If you go just north of Clarence in the Free State, you come up over the mountains. That's where the water comes out. It comes out in the open. I've actually been there with one of my viewers and filmed it. It's pretty cool. But that's the bottom line, folks. There's no water in Gauteng. There's not normally water there at all because it never rains. So there's too many damn people living there, and y'all went there to get the gold. Now the gold's mostly gone, so go somewhere else. No, just kidding.
Go to the coast. Go to the coast.
Yeah, go to the coast. East Coast or West Coast.
I mean, talking about the coast, I mean, I was in the Eastern Cape last week, and what is very interesting, I walked into a supermarket there, and they had a tap. Well, not a tap, like a little hose pipe with the tap on it. And you could fill up your water bottle for R1.48 per liter. Right. And I was like, this is interesting, you know? And I saw people using this thing. And I'm like, I don't find it here in Gauteng. I mean, we have to buy bottled water. And I mean, once that runs out, we're done for. I remember the one time there was no water in my neighborhood. And I went to like the petrol station. Hey, do you have water? We don't have. And then I had to like go somewhere a bit further out to buy like 5 liter, these 5 liter bottles. Fortunately I got, but I was just like, man, it could have been worse. So yeah, I mean, now, and talking about the Lesotho Highlands project as well, excellent project. I think that now if there were 3 other projects that were supposed to be done, and they didn't do, I'm just like, hey, why didn't you just get the private sector to see if something like this is feasible so you can get more water to Gauteng? Because I was on actually Gareth Cliff's show, Burning Platform, I think 2 weeks ago, and we're discussing something similar because now, you know, that whole water licenses and, you know, race and whatever. And I was just saying, look, man, you know, the problem with licenses is that I understand that they want, and again, this is my libertarian thing coming out, my libertarian thoughts coming out. But I always say that, yes, I understand why they issue out licenses, but the problem is that you create cartels. And when you create cartels, you get these monopolies, and then the product just becomes worse over time, and it becomes more expensive. So I was just saying that, look, I mean, let us find a solution to water. And what I found very interesting in the coast, they do their own water harvesting, which is a very good activity in my opinion. And also at the same time, I think that, yeah, let's just see if we can get the private sector to complete that project and see what they can come up with. And I think they might come up with something very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's that's a big moneymaker for Lesotho. They can use the hard currency. That money coming in there definitely helps their economy. So it's a shame they didn't finish the whole thing. You're on the Burning Platform. I'll be on the Burning Platform while I'm in Gauteng. I've been invited to come back on the So I've been on recorded before, not live, when they first moved to the new studio, and now I'll be back there and I'll be on the Burning Platform, which means I got to get up early because it's like 7 a.m. or something like that. You're on air. I was like, damn, I'm supposed to be 7. So I'll be going to there, and then I got to work out with Panul when I come on his program. I'm going to guess that'll be around the 22nd or 23rd or something like that. So yeah. Now Gerrit Janssen van Rensburg says that most Spar or Pick and Pays have an area where you can buy RO water. You just have to bring your own container. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's something that they should market a bit better, because I mean I've been to those outlets, and I found that out by accident. I'm not saying that the marketing has been poor. Maybe the marketing has been great, but it didn't hit me. You know, it that happens.
So it may have put a good effort in, but it wasn't as effective as it could be, obviously. So Paulie says Tucker Carlson, Andrew Tate interview, 55 million views. Have either of you watched it, Dumo? I haven't watched it. I haven't seen one of Tucker's videos since about his fourth one. Did you see this Andrew Tate thing? I don't get the Andrew Tate thing. People love it. I don't know why they're so into Andrew Tate. Yeah,
Andrew Tate is a provocative character, and I think that's why people love him. You know, when he went to prison and everything, you saw on Twitter they were saying free top T or something like that. What is it? No, top G, right? And that type of thing. So he generated a lot of support, but I didn't watch the interview. It didn't interest me. Not to say that the interview is not interesting. Maybe if I watched it, I'd probably find it interesting. But Andrew Tate is not the type of person that I'll say, oh, let me see what he has to say. He's not that type of guy.
Well, for me, it's the same as looking at like Formula One and UFC. Interesting things, but they're just not my cup of tea. And Andrew Tate, I listened to him, and I found him very abrasive, and nothing against him, but I didn't find the appeal. It's people love Joe Rogan. And again, I'll state unequivocally, and those who want to attack, I don't think anybody here is going to do that, but we get the trolls come and attack me. Well, you're a pathetic little tiny platform. Who cares what you think? But yeah, fine, then don't be here. But so I never got the appeal of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan to me I remember him on News Radio, which is the 1990s sitcom in a radio station in which Phil Hartman was on the show. He was murdered by his wife. Yeah. But I love that show, but he was like the ninth cast character, the maintenance guy that, had a one-liner every now and then, and that's who Joe Rogan was to me. I never saw him ever again. I never knew about the whole UFC phenomenon. He was involved in that and became very popular and famous because of that. And then he did a podcast, and because of the UFC thing, millions of people tuned in. And, because his name is so big and he's on Spotify and he has all these sponsors, everybody goes on his program. So I get that. And I'm not diminishing him. The guy's obviously got a big following, but I listened to him. I don't find him all that compelling or even his voice all that interesting. Listen, on Caravan to Midnight, John B. Wells has a really cool radio voice, man. It's great to listen to him. And I could just listen to that voice. It's awesome. It's like listening to Alfred Connor speak English. It's very enjoyable and entertaining. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, about Joe Rogan, I don't listen to his podcast like religiously, but I've seen like clips from it. That's how I know about it. When he interviews famous people. But I got to admit, he's very good at making animal sounds. Like,
is he? Okay.
he is like probably the best at it. I remember the one time he imitated wild pigs. That sounded convincing because when I would go to the Eastern Cape and you'd hear how pigs sound, he sounded exactly like them. It was crazy. He's very good at that, but it makes sense because he was an actor. He was on Fear Factor. He has done some acting work. So, and he's also a comedian as well. I
didn't know he's a comedian, but it makes sense. He was on a sitcom, so
yeah. And look, he's good, and he's good at telling stories as well.
Okay, well then maybe that's what the appeal is. But the few times I've listened to him he isn't really telling stories; he's interviewing people. So storytellers are great. I'm a storyteller. I enjoy storytellers, especially if they're good at it. So that's Garrett's saying Joe Rogan is epic. And again, I'm not taking anything away from. I'm just saying I don't get it. UFC is very popular. It's very lucrative. I almost wound up in a line for signatures, autographs from the UFC fighters when I was in Vegas. I'm walking through the MGM Grand, and instead of going this other way where the traffic was all clogged up, I went this other side, and I walk up, and there's the little rope that they and the guy puts the rope behind me. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, it's, you want an autograph? I'm like, autograph for what? UFC. I'm like, UFC. And I'm in the line to get autographs. I'm like, no, I just came to go. I'm going to the comedy club, man. Let me get out of here. So, but it's incredible, and so is Formula One. But it's just not for me. It's. But I said the same thing about NASCAR. That racing. All they do is ride around a loop for. I get Formula One. They go all over town. They do this. They come back. And they got tough turns. They got something. But NASCAR, they just hit the gas and go the same speed for freaking 4 hours, going around burning petrol. And so I never got NASCAR.
Just turn to the left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just hold it like this the whole time, never move. But then I went to Delaware, to Dover, because I had free tickets from my cable provider. Of all people, they had tickets and they gave it. I went, and it's unfortunate because it was after the heyday of this sort of thing. It used to be like 70, 80, 100,000 people in stands, and it holds that many. So I was there when it was like 25 or 30,000, so it was mostly empty. But I went, and then those cars come out of the pit. and the whole ground shakes, and you're like this, and they take off. And I'm like, damn NASCAR, man, I'm on board. No, it was pretty wild. But I'm still not a fan of NASCAR, but I get the appeal because I experienced it. I don't get the Joe Rogan, and I don't get the UFC thing. I mean, to UFC, man, I don't want somebody kicking me in the face, man. That's not cool. That's not cool.
Oh yeah. Also, UFC doesn't appeal much to me. Because some of those fights really end up. I mean, like some people get pretty badly injured as well. But yeah, it's not something that I watch as well. But yeah, people love it. People love UFC.
Yeah, they do. And then we're not dissing on it. But Chris Wyatt says, as a South African, your country is really in the cock when there is a longer queue outside the water store than there is at the bottle store. Well, the Shabeens have nobody there because they're all standing in the queue to buy water. There's a problem. Yeah, that's a good point there. But Dumo, I don't want to keep you too late tonight because it's your birthday, and I feel kind of guilty. But I mean, I don't want to rush you off if you want to hang around a few more minutes. But just remind folks where they can find you at, man, Patria.
Right. So on Twitter you can find me at Dumo. So I've been posting a lot of memes there lately. And they're really cool stuff. I'm working on another project right now as well. So please be patient with that. It's going to take some time. So if you realize that there hasn't been content coming out from Manpatria, it's not because we are done and dusted. It's because we're working on new content. We want to just give you something worth watching. Not to say that the other stuff was not worth watching, but we want to do something different. So you can go to manpatria.com if you want to do that. And also thanks for the birthday wishes. I was looking at all the chats and it's really awesome. Thank you guys. You guys are really awesome about because you did that. And that's where you can find me on Twitter. And also if you want to read my written stuff as well, I also write a few pieces for Mises.org. So you can just Google my name, Dumo Denga, and you'll find that the first link will pop up is actually from Mises.org, which is great. And then you'll find all my articles there. And really, I got to give a big shout out to Mises because not only do they, publish the articles that I write, they also do little podcasts on it as well, where you can listen to the article as well. So if you like to listen instead of reading, it's also there as well. So big shout out to Mises. Thank you.
No, that's awesome. And thanks for sharing where people can find your articles. That's always nice to see too. It's great to listen to people and see people, but it's also, I think, very informative to understand who people are and where they're coming from when you can read what they write, especially when they're articulate like yourself. It's always nice to see that. That's Paulie pushed me to publish on Morning Shot when they were doing articles. Yes. And I wrote several articles on there and they were well received. So I appreciate that he, because I'm usually writing other things and that's actually not that complicated thing for me to do, but it actually was very, I think, useful to write those articles, and they were timely, so it was kind of cool. And Morning Shot was very good about putting them up. So it's good to see when someone writes because you see another aspect of their personality, particularly if they're their own editor. I mean, if you got another editor, they're doing heavy editing, then you don't necessarily see what their writer's intent is. But no, it's great that Mises publishes your stuff there. And Murray McGregor said, "Happy birthday, Dumo." He's another one wishing you a happy birthday.
Thanks, Murray. Spelled my surname wrong.
Yeah, I saw
Dengue,
that. It's dengue,
but it's fine.
not dengue. That's dengue as in fever minus the U. Dengue fever.
And in Xhosa the word dengue, it's actually it means like an idiot, like a silly person.
Okay,
so
well I was.
It's not. It's not. It's not that I'm offended. It's not that I'm offended, but that has happened a few times when they'll say Dumoteng and then especially in the Eastern Cape, then everyone starts laughing. Because the word is stang it's not a nice word, but anyway. Well, but just wanted to let you guys know. Not that you meant it, Murray. Thanks.
No,
for
he
it,
did.
But
He said as soon as he typed it, he realized he typed it wrong. Now, and that's the thing when people are typing.
I see there. Okay,
yeah.
Thanks, Murray.
Now, on social media, people, you type things, and the thing for me is that when your damn phone, auto corrects to the wrong spelling or the wrong word, you don't see it because you push the button. You're like,
exactly.
That's not what I meant to say. Yeah. Anyway, but Dumo, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for being on here. I will be in country on the 28th. I'll be in Cape Town. I don't get
Okay.
up to Gauteng until the evening of the 15th. So I'll be in Gauteng from the 15th until I depart in the afternoon of the 24th. So about a little over a week, actually, not as long as I'd like to be there. But anyway, so maybe we can touch base. I'm going to set up a meet and greet, possibly at a bed and breakfast I'm staying at. We'll just see. So if you want to come to that, we'll get the word out to you. And obviously, you're welcome to come to it. We look forward to it. And yeah, so I don't know if you guys are, I don't think you'll be doing a man pager between now and then, but if you do and you're curious or would want me to come by, and not afraid that I'll disclose your location to the CIA, I'd be happy to come by and be in studio. I've done that with Joe Emilio. I'm the first person ever to be in Joe's studio with him, and I've done it with some other folks. So anyway, it's just a thought, but no need for it.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just a thought.
I think we can arrange something.
Okay. Well, we'll sort it out. It'll be cool. But dude, I'll be on Panil and I'll be on Cliff Central before I come on your program. Just kidding. Got to get those extra 3 subscribers from my appearance there. Anyway, so. Yikes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, man. It's awesome. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. And again, happy birthday. And thank you so much for coming on during your birthday. I'd say I'm impressed, but then I'd have to be impressed by my own self because I'm always broadcasting my birthday, which is Christmas Day. Anyway, thanks a lot, Dumo. I'll let you drop off and I'll wrap it up here. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Enjoy some cake, man.
Will do. Thanks, guys. It was really
Cheers.
awesome. Cheers.
All right, folks, it's Dumo Denga once again. Fantastic to have him on, and it's his birthday. It was very kind of him to come on during his birthday. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation today. It wasn't particularly heavy when we talked about a lot of things. We talked about Thabo Bester. We talked about the Rand water. We talked about Cyril briefly. We talked about UFC, Joe Rogan. We also talked about the trucks and what's going on with that, the Highlands Water Project. But we hit a lot of topics today. It was interesting. So I hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. It was kind of a laid-back conversation. And I hope that was interesting. Maybe we can get other folks on, but others on the program have been busy. But I would like to get Koketso back in here. And if I can get Nolu and Nzuzo back on the program, we'll hear what they've got to say about some of these topics. Anyway, I've got lots to do. I've got my radio program tonight, and I've got a few errands to run now. So God bless. Have a lovely evening. Thanks for tuning in with us. We do appreciate your presence. Have a lovely Murray, thank you very much. Good to see you again there, Murray Macarega. And everybody, thank you all so much. Have a lovely evening. And thank you for your patronage and your support. Be sure to hit that like button before you leave. Somebody just did it. Took us to 59. We do appreciate that. Thanks a lot, everybody. This segment is a response to viewers' requests. Viewers asked me to have a segment like this where we do the Nako. I came up with the name and the guest, but after I'd had Dumo in the program, after I'd had Koketso on the program, people said, you got to get those guys back on. So I envisioned this idea. And when we have everybody on, it's pretty cool. But even if it's just the two of us, that's pretty cool. Dumo is the most regular. He's able to carve the time out more often than other folks. But we do appreciate when they're all here. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night. If you're not a subscriber, you're one of the handful of people still here, please become a subscriber. Hit the button right below the video. And thanks for the super chats. I really much appreciate that. Have a good evening, folks. Be safe out there.